time, we have been able to keep working, and sales are probably, for many people, for many artists, a problem has become a problem. But luckily, in my case, I can say that this year I have been doing quite well. Before the lockdown, I was invited it was a solo show in my country, in Dominican Republic, and the sales went very well with my dealer there. So when I came, it was just the border of the lockdown. So then I kept working because I have my studio, and imagine this is what an artist is supposed to do, work. And so I did few pieces at the beginning because I was invited for a show also specifically about the COVID and the pandemic, and I did some photograph and like a sculpture piece. And but then parallel to that, I have been doing my recent work that I started doing last year, and completely different from what I did in the past. It was a big change in technique, in conceptually talking, and yes, but the pandemic is the way I see it is just one more stage in life. We will survive. We find ways like we are doing already, like for instance this moment here. Finding ways to exhibit, finding ways to do our work, finding ways to get inspired, and yes, and also to sell. I guess uh, collectors and the people who are interested in buying art will need more slowly to get used to buy online as well. And galleries, I don't know, Nicole, I guess eventually we'll talk about that. They will need to also become creative, or maybe some, uh, like some galleries are doing already, they have also the sales online. So the whole structure of art, I think we will always find solutions because we are a creative team of people.
Can,
Yeah.
can I step in a bit? Now that
Yes.
you're talking about being creative, I think now is the time for Lorenzo to, as a curator, photographer, art historian, and author of what was the name? Indizi. He wrote a book called Indizi, and he is the curator in the Museo del Silenzio where Andrea Bocelli is born in Italy. So now we're talking about creativity, creative. And I think, Lorenzo, this is the time for you to explain exactly what that means and how successful you were.
Well, thank you, Maria, as well, for inviting me to this panel. Well, creative solutions in times of COVID is something that it's not as easy as one might think, because you have to go through different processes. When the whole pandemic started, we were starting to build up this exhibition that was meant to be live, of course, there at the Teatro del Silenzio in Laiatico. Teatro del Silenzio is this arena, I would call it an open air amphitheater, where Andrea Bocelli sings once in a year in summer. And there, during that time in summer, you have exhibitions through all the village. People open up spaces. You have spaces that are meant for exhibitions, but people in the village open up spaces that can be used as exhibition space. And of course, when the whole pandemic started, we had to come up with some solution for the exhibition not to die or to be postponed or to, you know, we had to find a new idea. And so we decided, I actually have a small presentation to show you.
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
can share. Oh, but you have to enable me to share this.
I do. I have to enable everyone. Okay.
So I can talk a little bit how we did it. We invited 118 artists. Some of them were meant for the exhibition that of course couldn't happen. And some others were just because we thought they would fit perfectly for this exhibition. And others were called from the past exhibitions they did, because it's an exhibition that was founded by Alberto Bartalini, who is the art director of the Teatro del Silenzio. And so it started around 2014, these exhibition series. And can I share now, or?
Yes, I hope so.
Yes, I can. I just need to see if this works. No, it doesn't work. I don't know why.
I hope it's not my fault.
I can try and do like this. Wait a moment, if I can share my, sorry for the, yeah, now I have it.
Yeah.
See it? Huh?
Insolito, yeah.
So this is Artin Solita. This is the, on the right you can see the whole list of artists that participated. And it's really 118 artists coming from different countries, and some of them are also locals, but then again, I brought some Swiss artists as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes place here in Laiatico. You can see how it's displayed around the whole village. So what I wanted to start with is, of course, we had to find a way to keep the exhibition alive. And we invited these artists to send pictures of an artwork that was generated maybe during the pandemic, or maybe even as early as 1970, that might have a different meaning today in the times we're living. So we had an amazing array of contributions by these artists. And then we started to post them on Instagram and Facebook each day. So from May till October, we had one post of every artist each day. Mm-hmm. And in Laiatico, then all of a sudden, a local sponsor decided to, he said, why don't we work together and we exhibit these works in the village itself? Because, you know, in July, things seemed to be a little bit better in Italy as well. So we were working together with the municipality of Laiatico to show the works live as well for the community and for people that would like to come and visit. And so this is the Teatro del Silenzio, which takes place every year down there. It's an open air theater. And of course, you know, it's around 45,000 people, and it's not easy to do things like this now. So we still don't know when this is going to be happening again. This is how it is this year, because every year you have another artist who does the scenography. Mm-hmm. And here it is at the nighttime. And this is how we built the whole thing. So here you can see on Instagram all the posts we had during the whole of summer till October. And here you see some artists. There's Oliviero Toscani and Jacopo Pischedda that we exhibited here online. Mm-hmm. And this is how we did it in the actual space live. We printed them on PVC, and it's like this in the whole village.
Amazing.
Very nice.
Very amazing. And now that Lorenzo has shown us a successful turnout, you know, from hardship to beneficial, right? Nicole, I would like to ask you, the artists you represent, are they all actively in social media? Because I know you as a gallerist, you are. And my second question, have you changed your showcasing since the lockdown?
Well, first of all, hi everyone. Thanks for joining, and thank you for participating, for inviting me. Not all of my artists are actively on the social medias. Most of them are, especially the younger ones. The elderly ones, there's sometimes they post something, but not regularly. So I think the gallery also has the work to do for the artists to post all the new works and just to promote them, especially in those times, in these times where we cannot have real exhibitions and real shows like before. And your second question was if it still feels the same, like
I know that you as a gallerist that you've been representing artists for a long time here with presence in Switzerland, and you go across Europe. Like for instance, you used to go to Scope in Miami.
Yeah.
We couldn't go this year. So how does the lockdown, because the canceling of art fairs, how did you address the problem?
In terms of art fairs, of course, it's a big loss because especially our gallery is really depending on art fairs because we're doing quite a lot, as you mentioned, Miami, but also New York, London. So these are big countries where we have big collectors. And what I could do, actually, I was participating in September in Berlin at the Position Art Fair. This was this kind of window when it was beginning to be better, and even though it was a little bit of a risk, we decided to participate, and it was quite interesting because we were not sure if anyone is coming at all, because everyone was quite still afraid, and you know, with the concept of the masks and the temperature, taking the temperature before entering the art fair, everything was quite complicated. But it was very well organized, I have to admit, and the collectors, they were so full of hunger. They wanted culture again. They were coming and were happy to see all these artworks in real. So that was a very good experience. I mean, that was really good.
I'm happy to turn hardship into a benefit. You know, it's always good. Monica, have you had, because you have so many collectors in Dominican Republic, have they been demanding more work from you? Was this expected? You had it according to plan, or how did you change according to the lockdown?
Well, I actually have been very surprised because the response has been very good. They have, in a way, kept the same pace of buying, at least with some artists, and that was for me very surprising, because it's not only the fear of the lockdown because of the virus, but it's also the slowdown of the economic and the fear of bankruptcy. Many businesses have gone out of business. Sorry, but so I thought at the beginning, well, people will be much more careful to how to invest the money, how to buy in general, not only art. But that's why I say I'm surprised, because at least in my case, it's for me hard to talk about others. Although I talk with other artists, friends, artists that I have. And I think in general has been better than I thought, but I would say it like that. Yeah.
And when you finish the work, I guess that you don't want to get involved with social media at all when you have your creative process. And when you finish, do you dedicate time to thoroughly go through each painting and make publicity, or you just depends on the mood? Are you actively in Instagram?
Well, I am halfway, let's say. I should be probably more active, but from time to time, I publish my artwork, and not all of them that I finish. I think I need to improve on that. And there are many questions. I mean, as an artist, that's why galleries, theater are important in our life, because sometimes I have weird ideas, like, for instance, that if I post today a piece, I should not post tomorrow another one because it's too much, or a week in the road, even if it's different pieces. So, but I fear that this is not a very good thinking. I don't know, it's not the proper way of thinking. But a lot of artists like me, we have this kind of, I don't know what would be the word, like, more shy approach to sales. So, but I have to say that Instagram has proven very good for me. I have made some people have wrote to me, approached, and I have sold through Instagram. And yes, it's like, I think in these times we need to be open to all the tools. Instagram is just a tool that can improve our life in general, let me say.
Lorenzo, I have a big important question for you, but I want to keep it for later because it's on art education, and on personal level, I'm really motivated with art education. But I want to go to Nicole to follow up Monica's. Nicole, collectors, how are they reacting to your presentation by email on PDF? How do you think is going to go the presentation from art in at least in 2021? I don't want to think about any longer future. How do you see this year coming?
Well, I personally was really surprised doing some online sales. I mean, we are, as a gallery, are represented as well on Artsy and Artnet, and which are quite big collector platforms. And to be honest, we in the past, sometimes we sold some works, but not. Mm-hmm. You just have to be represented on those platforms as a gallery because this is kind of a standard. But I realized that this year, especially, people were home during the lockdown. They were taking the chance to renew their houses, spending their money instead of going to holidays. They spend it in their houses in terms of interior decorating, but also in art. And I was really positively surprised about the sales I had online, not only in Switzerland, or especially going to Belgium or to the northern part of Europe, but even to the US. So yeah, it's a new way. It was actually quite interesting and also good to see. And I think people are getting used. The whole situation has changed. I mean, if you compare to the big companies, some of my former colleagues, they said we are not allowed to work from home, and now we can. And now home office is getting more and more important. So I think there is a whole change at the moment, and in my opinion, it won't change dramatically the next few years. I think we have to get used to this new situation, which of course also has a lot of chances, I think. Also in art, hopefully.
Thank you, Nicole. So Lorenzo, change. Nicole is mentioning change. You, as a curator, together with art institutions, how can they improve in order for them to be more digitally active and we more responsive?
Well, I think it's a question of interaction mainly. When you go to visit exhibitions these days, you come into a sometimes very clean space, everything is ready. You get these, especially for, let's say, mediation, cultural mediation inside exhibitions, you get some background informations, but there's not a participatory level that is, constructed enough. I think what I miss in these exhibitions is the feeling of going into an artist studio or having a connection between yourself as a visitor and the artist, because ultimately it generates from there. And that's why I also wanted to ask Monica, then, if I can just have a short question to you, is did you work during these times, during the pandemic times, or did you do new paintings, or do you have a studio next to you, or did you have to travel for going to work, or?
Well, I have my studio pretty close to my home. I walk every day. I have a beautiful dog, which is my companion. So we walk back and forth because I have lunch at home as well. So I come in the morning, and then at lunchtime I stop, and then I am quite organized, and I have my routine of working. And during the pandemic, it has not changed at all. And because I have the facility, I have a very comfortable studio. So, which is you can come anytime to visit. You're welcome to come.
It's something that really interests me, because in conversations with a lot of young artists at the moment, they can't access their studios because sometimes either you're in complete lockdown or the studio is another municipality, let's say in Italy. So they're blocked and they can't work. And so, they always they find new ways to work, but at the same time, they're blocked to do it to their full potential. That's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not my case. I'm lucky because, again, when I mentioned that I came from DR on March after the exhibition, that was the very moment that I moved. I was in Rashpit near the school, art school in Muschensheim. And there is a building, with many studios that maybe there is something like you say, that the situation it's different. That I think in a moment they close everything, but here I'm in a building like it's not the basement, but it's like the pattern. So I'm alone here. There's a musician beside me, but he comes as well. But we have our closed door studio, let's say. So that has allowed me to keep working in my normal pace, which I appreciate a lot, because otherwise it could be very, very tough.
Yeah. And do you see the future of representation like Nicole? Because Nicole, how long you had the gallery for? How many years?
I had it for 9 years, but we just moved to the gallery.
I noticed. But will you consider, for instance, making a pop-up into the studio of one of the artists you represent, for instance? Can you move around? Will you consider that in the future?
As a gallery, I think it's still important that you have a space. But I mean, pop-up, why not? I mean, it is important to have a space, but what we did just after the lockdown, we had some open ateliers at the artists' ateliers, and we just invited some important collectors, and they really appreciated this kind of things. And I just want to come back quickly to Lorenzo's input that sometimes in a gallery the environment is quite clean, and you cannot really feel the artist if he's not there. Usually the artist only is represented during the vernissage, and afterwards he's not there anymore. It's an interesting point, because I have quite some collectors, they don't want to get in touch with the artists because they don't want to get the influence of the artist. It's quite interesting. They come in and they look at the artworks and they just want to feel the power or the mystic, or how can I say it? It's just that they want to feel the artwork and they don't want to get influenced by the artists, which is quite interesting. They don't even want to know if it's a woman or a man. They just want to feel the artwork, and when it feels right, they want to know more about the artists. So there are different opinions in that point.
Lorenzo, what do you say?
No, I mean, it can really be true. I mean, you know, when you go through, you know, in my profession, you see things of difficult provenance. If you have a work of a very important artist, if this work was in a, or is still in a provenance of a collection that is difficult. Let's say for now, in this moment, the Bürle collection is quite a difficult thing here in Zurich. The biggest work you have, the most important work, let's say for a Gauguin in their collection, it loses the, you know, even the biggest aura of an artwork for let's say this Gauguin work, it loses somehow this aura in case you have it in a difficult collection or with a difficult provenance. And so the idea of connecting the work to the artists is somehow, you know, you can see yes or no, you know. Also, there's some works in collections of institutions that haven't been shown to the public since they were bought. And sometimes it has to do with the artists themselves, because they led a complicated life, a life that was somehow controversial. Mm-hmm. And that's why they don't show it. And so there's a complete new discourse on this. If you want to separate the work from the artist, or even if you can separate the work from the artist. So I completely understand Nicole's point of view.
Monica, do people want to meet you personally? Do they want to know your life?
Well, in general, I would say that people like to know the artist. I perfectly understand Nicole, and I have known people like that, and that they, for me, it's very strange, but I respect that they buy art and they don't even ask anything about the art, the piece, or they don't show much interest, but they are collectors. And so, I mean, I think there's a lot of different people in you know, as collectors, or but in general, yes, a lot of people want to talk, and my experience is that once you explain the piece, or when you explain the body of work, which is, I always, usually I work as body of work maybe for a few years, and although I give always the freedom of work, also parallel pieces, like I said before, I did few pieces about the topic of the virus, but at the same time I was doing my new body of work, and they say always to me, oh, now I understand better, I like it better. Some people, it's very straight and say, I didn't like it before, now that I understand something, I like it, I can connect with the work. So yes, that's my experience.
Can I ask you all about your personal experiences about social media and interaction, because Lorenzo was mentioning that. So after all of you in your work have finished with your content, you have your content ready, you publish your content, how is later the follow-up? Because I think that in these days, interaction is everything. Zurich's connections wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the interaction we are having. Like right now, this is the future, right? So what has it been your experience? Because I know some artists and some gallerists and even the curator that has to select and exhibit and everything sell purely in Instagram. But interaction is the key to the buyer to get as a decision to say, yes, I want to buy it. Who wants to start?
Well, I can start. What I have noticed is that the time, once you post something, and the time of interest, let's say the time span of interest of the public is pretty short. It's maybe 1-2 days, no more, because you see how the comments and the likes start slowly declining. Mm-hmm. There are tools for, I don't have it, but I kind of check on these things. But there are tools that, you know, that you can have those statistics about how many people come in, or if it's a video. But in general, I think Lorenzo gave an excellent example of what I would call adaptation to the times, mm-hmm. and to what we have available to keep on with a project that was already defined and ready to be done, and it was done, but in another way. And I think we need to be a bit to switch in our mind, because we are communicating. It's just in a different way. And of course, many people will like to see the art, but also when you read articles about the younger generation, the centennials, as they call it, the ones who were born in the 90s, they are buying more online than probably going to a gallery. So we need to the way I assimilate all this is first to be open and have the flexibility all the time to adapt. So the social media is a great tool. Yeah.
Nicole, Lorenzo?
Yeah. Our experience is as when we post a new work of an artist, and we have reactions in whatever terms, like inquiries, or they just want to know more about the artist or about pricing, no matter. One key element is the speed. You need to really reply very fast, very quickly. You have to have all the information ready and can be which can be sent out. And because the level of the time and level of interest is of a very short period of time. So if you cannot answer those questions within, I say, 60 minutes, yeah, it's probably gone. So that's our experience. It has to be very fast.
I agree on that, yes.
Lorenzo, and you were successful in the Museo del Silencio thanks to the first you were creating the content, but later you had such a response. So you were fast enough to come with the idea?
Yes, well, this is actually a different discourse than from my Instagram channel. I like to differentiate the two, because in my curator experience, I upload things on Instagram through my aesthetic. At the Teatro del Silencio for Artin Solita, there's 3 different curators and 1 art director. So you have 4 different opinions. And so what happened there at Artin Solita was we had a very nice response. To me, the whole social media use is kind of, I see it as archives of the future. I like the idea of Instagram being some sort of an archive. I use Instagram, for instance, more than Facebook. But I like the idea of Instagram being an archive of the future. Just the uploading is a form of archival impulse in a way. And so I go back to these things, to the things that I uploaded, or I find new things and then I upload them as a form of archive. And to me, that is very interesting because people then come, let's say, on my page and see my aesthetic in an open archive. And other people go then maybe to the exhibition page, to the Artin Solita page, and can see the exhibition, which is kind of in an archive, and you can see the whole exhibition still on social media.
So Monica, you would say that your portfolio is in your Instagram? Kind of?
Well, not 100%, but you can see a lot of my works there that can give you a good idea. And also I can have the link in the bio in Instagram, in the first, in the profile, like most of the people have a link if they have a web page, so I can have that as well, which is also nice to have. And yes, so, yes, people pay attention to what you post, but like Nicole and I said, you have to be fast and you have to try to find ways to keep the interest on people, because otherwise the time span of interest is really short. But I think it's also a sign of the times. The sense of time has changed as well. Everything is very speed up.
Do you think we will ever get saturated, or you think Lorenzo, for instance, is limitless, like because it's an encyclopedia or a bibliothèque?
Exactly.
Do you think it's endless, limitless?
To me, it's endless because it's a tool that can be used in a form that, if you really want to get to the core of this conversation, it can be a substitute for a live experience, but it's an important tool to keep connected to a world that is real, even if you are in a non-real, in a digital situation, you have a connection to these works that are there. To me, it really is limitless. It's something that I hope people will pick up as, in a way of thinking of a form of archive. That is the most important thing to me, let's say, on social media.
Does anybody have any question for any other panelist? Is there anything you want to know about the other person? Just check in, because we are coming to an end. So I was thinking, because this is definitely the purpose of this Zoom, is to make progress. And I want that we are all creating a very, very, very pampered community, that we can help each other. And I see 3 cases of success. Nobody could tell you that you went through a lockdown, because the 3 of you came up with good results, right? So I hope that this community turns out to be progressive and successful still.
Well, I have as a motto in life that I would like to add, always keep positive, no matter what, because at the end of the day, you can invest the same energy in negativity or in positivity. So why would you then invest it in something that will pull you backwards instead of the thing that will move you forward? So this is always that I try to keep in mind, although of course we all have good and bad days, but I say one day is enough. Let's take again the positive attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to ask Nicole about again the selling online. What is her opinion in general? Because I like to read about these things, and like I mentioned before, it seems like this very young generation that has a lot of money, like these young people are sometimes making much more money than somebody who has been working for 30 years or 35 years. And they got jobs with 25, 28, and they get paid a lot of money. So they have the capacity of buying. But they are kind of a bit lazy. They have that trait into. So how she visualize that, how to approach this target of the market, approach to try to conquer that piece of the pie, let's say.
Collectors, new young collectors.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. So your question was how to approach young collectors and to motivate them to get into purchasing art. Is that your question?
Yes, and combined with the fact that they also like to buy a lot online. They are very used to buy online, everything. And for my generation and in the middle of my generation, is not a natural thing 100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question, actually, because in the gallery world, everyone wants new collectors, young new collectors. That's one goal to achieve, because I mean, we have many collectors which are already in an elderly status, and maybe they have children and they grew up as well in the art world, and they're kind of used and they know about art from children, from their childhood. But of course, we want also to reach new young collectors. I can only speak from my experience. I mean, as I said before, my previous years of participating in art fairs helped me a lot, because I met many young people coming in. They were maybe not collectors yet, but they wanted to get a picture of the art world. And an art fair is just representing many different art pieces in one space, in one large space at the art fair. So that helped me a lot. And those young people, eventually they approached me via Instagram and asked me, hey, I saw this last year, 2 years ago, and I would like to get more information. And it started a little bit that way. I also had, in May, I had a new collector. He wanted to have also like a consulting job, because he wanted to start his own small art collection, but he's only 28 years old and he didn't really know how to start it, and he needed some advices as well. So that was also an interesting thing to do. But it's, with the new collectors, it's a little bit different, because the new collectors, they're often, they don't want to really have, you know, something. They don't really want to have a car, or they don't want to have a house, and they don't want to have an artwork. So you have to find different ways of working with them. And yeah, there might be very interesting things coming up for the future, I'm sure.
Lorenzo, I think you have to add something here, because he's from that generation. Lorenzo, what do you think?
Well, I do collect as well, but you know, I don't think I'm able to talk about this in this sense, because I have a very personal aesthetic. I know when I see a work, then I jump on it, you know. But I think it's also very important for a gallerist to approach a new probable client, and to give them a feeling of security, because many who come into a gallery are very insecure of what they want. But then again, you have the immediate reaction to a work, which is almost half of sometimes half of your connection to a work. And so it's really difficult for me to talk about this because, you know, I have a different background. But yeah, I see that a lot when I did exhibitions in galleries. I see different views. I see people who come and say, "This is the work I want to buy," or I see people that come and you have to help them into it.
Education.
Yes.
Going back to the art education, which I think has a lot of potential. I think there is a huge gap of to be filled with art education, and there is an endless content creation in social media, both on personal level. I think when the digitalization of art has started the process, those two, content creating and art education, have a very, very promising future, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for believing in this project. Thank you so much for being part of this discussion panel today. I hope we continue to work together, because there are many things we can do. And we hope that we can inspire other artists or other gallerists or other, you know, curators or fan lovers. Like, you know, I am an art lover, and I just like to be surrounded by people who love art, because I want to learn. So today you actually taught me a lot, and I hope to see you soon, and we will continue with our Zoom talks. Thank you for your participation, friends.
Thank you.
And thank you for our audience.
Thank you
Bye
very
bye.
much.
Bye everybody.
Bye bye. Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.